Extraordinary transfer bomb from Liverpool. Now we refresh our memories and move the date to March 11, 2020. Liverpool will face Atletico Madrid at Anfield and are playing their last home game before the pandemic hits. For minutes into overtime, Roberto Firmino put Liverpool 2-0 up. Shortly after, however, Marcos Llorente took a clever reverse pass from João Felix from the left, made an inside touchdown and dropped the ball into the lower right corner. And before that extra time ended, Alvaro Morata scored another goal. It was a sucker punch that ended the Reds' hopes of reaching the Champions League quarter-finals. Unsurprisingly, Llorente appears to have made a lasting impression on Jürgen Klopp that night. According to reports from Spanish sources, the Reds are interested in signing Llorente just before the transfer window closes. Llorente signed a new deal last August and is apparently tied to the club until 2027. However, reports claim that moves can still be made before the end of the transfer window. So what's Llorente's ability to appeal to Liverpool? Perhaps the most striking feature is the versatility of the player. According to Transfermarkt's data, the star player is worth around £40 million, with 105 as a defensive midfielder, 73 as a central midfielder, 32 as an offensive midfielder or second forward, 34 as a right midfielder or right winger, and as a right back. He played 11 matches. He came to Atletico as number 6, but inspired by his Anfield look, Diego Simeone chose to give him more attacking licenses and was rewarded. 6 of Llorente's 7 goal contributions in the 2019-2020 La Liga season came after a restart and then played a leading role in Los Rojiblancos' championship win in 2020-2021 by scoring 12 goals and setting 11 more. He also spent time at wingback amid Kieran Trippier's betting ban that year. He also played on the right of the quartet in his country's national team at that time. In short, he is, in Simeone's words, a versatile player. He can play anywhere on the pitch. After seeing how he works in practice, we tried to put him up the pitch and we found different characteristics compared to our other forwards, said the Argentinian coach. James Milner came to mind in this regard in Liverpool, but Llorente is an even more comprehensive player. When his defensive feature is examined, he can theoretically take part in 3 positions in the middle of the park at Anfield. But in my opinion he gives his best performance in central midfield. The team contributes tremendously to the increase of offensive actions with its energy and uses this energy when defending when necessary. He can surpass Jordan Henderson's current version in terms of technical skill, offensive effect, and aggressive defense. Using Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain as a right winger and even a fake 9 player at times, Klopp can even put Llorente on the front line if the conditions warrant. He has already shown that he can deliver the final product if he is allowed into the penalty area late. And because of the playmaker responsibilities it entails, a natural midfielder may be better suited to a right-back role in the current Liverpool system than a dominant centre-back like Joe Gomez. Llorente Trent can support Alexander-Arnold as Calvin Ramsey thrives. Llorente is 27 years old and contract status means it may not come that cheap. But he can help Liverpool in so many different ways that it's definitely worth exploring. U-turn for the Liverpool star. Bournemouth manager Scott Parker has admitted he is unlikely to sign Liverpool defender Nat Phillips. The manager said that due to Phillips' growing role for Jürgen Klopp, it will be difficult to sign the Liverpool player. I think it's probably a tough one. Nat probably doesn't want to leave. That's the reality. When you're at the top clubs, you definitely don't want to jump out of there so fast when you see the opportunity, he said. Parker praised Phillips for the role he played in Bournemouth's return to the Premier League last season. But despite the obvious interest, the 25-year-old isn't optimistic about making a comeback. He was an important part of the great work we did last year. We brought him in January and he was the driving force for our promotion. He's an incredible professional, an outstanding player. But I'm sure he's happy right now, wearing the red jersey and playing for Liverpool, said Parker's remarks seem to confirm that Phillips will still be at Liverpool when the transfer window closes next week. There are reportedly other clubs following the player, but Bournemouth's interest was the strongest. Few could have foreseen the defender's debut in the Premier League this season. As we conveyed to you in our videos at the beginning of the summer, Nat Phillips was expected to leave the team. However, unexpected injuries of the defenders caused Klopp to change his mind. Nat Phillips backing Trent Alexander-Arnold strengthens Klopp's hand. In this landscape, it's easy to see why Phillips wanted to stay put. Klopp is a known fan of hers and doesn't hesitate to put her on if needed. Van Dijk and Gomez can't play every game either. The risk of injury for both is too much of a gamble to knock them down in the absence of Ibrahima Konate and Joel Matip. While both players should be back before long, Phillips must be bracing himself to make an impact in the interim. Beyond that, it's still likely to move in January. The Bolton-born centre-back has previously survived a seemingly definitive exile at Liverpool. Looks like he's about to do it again. Liverpool's alternate midfield roster has been revealed. At this point, it is widely accepted among Liverpool fans that the club should sign another midfielder. We compile the names that emerged in this context for you. However, besides Liverpool's main goals, there is also an alternative player list. Now let's examine these names together. The Reds are targeting players in a profile that can work as both a 6 and an 8. To give an example, a name on Aurelien Tchouameni's profile, which was attempted to be taken this summer. Tchouameni would have been an ideal signing, and it is becoming increasingly clear that his decision was a huge blow for the Reds, but there is still time for Liverpool to sign with a strong alternative this summer. Liverpool are interested in 3 midfielders of similar profile. The first is Sadio Kone from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Transferred from Toulouse for £8.1 million in 2020, Kone has started this season playing alongside Christoph Kramer in Gladbach's 4-2-3-1 lineup and former Liverpool target Florian Neuhaus in 3-4-2-1 last season. He was 9th in battles won in last season's Bundesliga and has been making his way to progressive passes this season so far, while also finishing in 5th place as he moved to the final third. The transfer to the France national U-21 team was called a monstrous box-to-box midfielder in the making by talent scout Jacek Kulik, who said playing Kone was like having an extra man on the pitch. Predictably, it looks like Liverpool will have to pay a premium to sign Kone at this stage of the window. Newcastle was reportedly ready to pay Borussia Mönchengladbach £29.5 million for him, but the club rejected the offer. Daniel Farke's side insists it's not for sale, and so a much higher amount will be required to test their standing. The second name is Amadou Haidara from Leipzig. He is a few years older than Kone and Tchouameni, but is an attractive player for Liverpool. Liverpool have made extensive deals with the Red Bull network, and Amadou Haidara could be the next targets. Leipzig had bought Haidara in a £17.1 million deal after Keita moved to Anfield. Although he mainly plays the role of number 8, he has enough experience as number 6. He finished 3rd in the Bundesliga last season with a successful dribble percentage. Haidara says he models his game around Liverpool icon Steven Gerrard. "I'm a struggling player who works hard on defense, and I try to do my best going forward. I also have a good shot," he said. Leipzig coach Christopher Vivell said Gerrard boasted an irrepressible will to win, and good technique and sense of play, which is another trait of Gerrard. A reasonable offer of £21.1 million is expected for the Leipzig star. The third and final name is Ismail Bennacer from Milan. Liverpool also have former Arsenal Academy alumnus Bennacer on their list, who joined Empoli in 2017 and moved to Milan 2 years later for £15.5 million. However, the Reds are not alone in this race. He is interested in the Algerian player at Manchester City. The Algerian player has entered the last 2 years of a contract that includes a £42.2 million release clause, but Milan are doing their best to prevent any exit this summer. Benitez is in the top 3 in Serie A for passes, progressive passes and tackles. He was named player of the tournament after helping his country win the African Cup of Nations in 2019 and has been called a complete midfielder by coach Stefano Pioli. Of the 3 options, it would perhaps be the safest bet, but also the most expensive. Which of these alternative midfielders do you think Liverpool should move to, or are these names good enough for Liverpool?